It's 12 o'clock. It's time for Wow Ergonomics with me, Graham Cofe, and Stephen Howe.
Hello.
Good afternoon, Stephen.
Good afternoon. I thought you were
going
going
to our usual haunt.
We are.
Thought I was going to sing.
I did think you were going to sing. I was like, oh, great, he hasn't sung. But
no, I've left that behind. I'm not ever going to do anything like that ever again. I've decided that, yeah, that's ridiculous. Why would anyone play music or sing on one of these things? I mean, it just doesn't make sense. But then exercise, completely different matter.
It's like It's like a 1980s breakfast show, isn't it? Like the Green Goddess or Mr. Motivator.
It's entirely that. It's entirely that.
Yeah.
So we've got some great guests coming on to Wow Ergonomics today. Thanks everyone for joining us. I will introduce the guest shortly. Actually, where's our branding? There's our branding. Look at that. There we go. That's better. Oh my goodness! It's so windy here, Stephen, that the bins have just flown down the road.
Were they empty or full?
They were empty, having been emptied at the yesterday, and so we've got flying bins. Is it windy where you are?
It is. Not a few bins fallen over, but it's not too bad. Being in the middle of the country, we're a little bit sort of protected here, but I guess you guys on the extremities probably get it a little bit worse than we do, I guess, don't we? So
no, absolutely. Well, let's hope that our guests today aren't full of wind. Let's welcome them and find out. This is Kate, Rodney. Thanks for joining us.
Hi.
Okay. And
wind, hopefully.
And Roger Jackson. Hi, Roger.
Hello. Nice to meet you. Hi.
Let's just do a little bit of a hello first. So, Kate, we'll start with you. Who are you? Where are you from?
So I'm Kate, and I'm from London, but I actually live in Paris. So it's afternoon here. Good afternoon.
I like that.
Good afternoon.
We have a bit of the Parisian with us.
Yeah, but still got obviously have to have that in the room just to remind my French hubby that I am British and all of that.
Okay, yeah, okay. What's your husband's name? Has he got a typically Parisian name?
He does. Well, not Parisian. It's French. Rudy.
French.
Rudy. So it's Rudy, and he's upstairs with our little Emily.
Oh, fantastic. And Roger, a little introduction from yourself, please.
Hi, good to be here. I'm dialing in from Milan, so we've got Paris and Milan on the line, but I'm definitely not in any way Italian, as I'm probably fairly obvious. But
he's got a Union Jack cushion in the corner as well.
I need to get one. That sounds like a great idea. I need something in the background. I mean, I am Mr. Plain Background, I'm afraid.
No, plain is absolutely fine.
Yeah.
So, and Stephen, you're at home obviously today.
I am at home in son number one's bedroom, hence. Oh, hang on, that way. Lego, map of the world, Tottenham Hotspur duvet over there somewhere. So
yeah, if you've never met Stephen before, you can tell where he's from, can't you? Anyone? No?
See?
Oh.
I'm really bad with accents.
You're really bad. Roger, do you know that accent at all?
I just think it's one of those things. It's incredibly dangerous because you may even think you know, but why insult someone but by accident? In my view.
Okay, well, it's a Midlands accent. There you are. There you go.
It is.
Untrue. People wonder where I'm from around here because I live in the southwest of England, but I don't sound like I'm from the southwest of England.
No.
Hopefully not. Anyway, nothing wrong with the southwest accent, but I like to keep my roots real. In a minute we'll be playing the game, but first let's find out a little bit more about our guest today. So Kate, we've met you, but what is it that you do?
So I am actually a brand ambassador now. I am a brand ambassador for Arbonne, which is a health and wellness company that's been around for the past 40 years and is B Corp certified. Before, I was an English teacher, so that's why I moved to Paris and was an English teacher. And that's, my husband wasn't a student of mine, but I realized I was in a dark place a couple of years ago. We actually were going through a fertility journey. Which luckily has a happy ending. I don't know if you'll hear the baby crying, but at the start, at the beginning of 2019, it was really bad. 3 years of unexplained infertility, no one helping. Doctors were saying, just keep trying, just keep trying. And then at work, it got worse. Like I was running the biggest English language school in Paris, but I was basically told there was nowhere for me to go. I would never have another pay rise. I'd been given my last pay rise from the company. And so that was, I mean, what kind of company does that? Because immediately my motivation went, floom. It's like, right, I need to find something else. Especially, you know, I heard this quote, which is, you know, I'm sure you know, the definition of an insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again. And it just kind of dawned on me that I was doing nothing to change my life. I was complaining about work, but I was doing nothing to make it better, to improve either financial security or anything. And I was complaining about fertility, but yet I just expected the doctors to just come up with a magic cure and just, you know, help me fall pregnant. But I was doing nothing. I was drinking too much. I was smoking. I was never taking exercise. I was, you know, eating all kinds of crap because I looked fine. So I just thought, well, I'm healthy, you know, even though the smoking and drinking, you're just like, well, I'm thin. I must be healthy. And then a friend introduced me to Arbonne, and it was actually exactly what I was looking for without realizing it. Because at the beginning of 2019, I started looking, after I'd heard that quote, I started researching from naturopaths, nutritionists, and holistic fertility experts to understand what I could do, what I could change to help my fertility. And there's a big thing about actually, you can see, for example, with gluten, it's a fertility killer. And the reason is because any inflammatory foods is just going to cause your gut loads of effort and work. Whereas if you take them out of the equation, your fertility, your organs can actually do what they need to do. And they can be just that barrier. And so there's a lot of unexplained infertility, but there's actually many things you can do when you actually have the help that you need. So I started understanding that more, and my friend told me about the gut health plan that Arbonne do, and I was like, oh my God, that's exactly what I need. It's what I've been trying to do alone in Paris, but you know, there's a boulangerie on every corner, wine is cheaper than Coca-Cola, you know, so it's a little difficult to do on my own. So if I have the support, I can actually stick to it and take out dairy, take out gluten, take out soy, which is, you know, mimics estrogen and all those things that are basically stopping my fertility. And then I was also looking at, started looking at what, you know, chemicals and toxins do to your fertility and your health in general. So it's not just fertility, it's health. But like parabens, sulfates, you know, these are all things that we're putting on our skin that are absorbed in like 60 seconds. And you have no idea. And the regulations haven't been changed since 1938. So when I started researching this, I was like, oh my God, I need to make some changes. And I did. And it was just so easy to switch to everything Arbonne for skincare, hair care, all of that, because exactly what I needed. And so becoming a brand ambassador was just, well, obvious. And then after 6 months of just making those changes, I fell pregnant. I now have my 18-month-old miracle. So obviously I'm still really passionate about helping other people just take out those unnecessary chemicals and toxins, because it's not obviously not just for fertility, but in general in life, like there's so much that those things just, they don't help you, and they can cause your energy to be really low, to be lethargic, sluggish, you know, you've got anxiety, stress, all those things. So if we just take a moment and take out the toxins, take out, you know, focus on our gut, give ourselves a bit of an MOT, it's amazing what happens. And so, yeah, that's me. That's why it's also really flexible. So I can obviously be around my daughter all day. Teaching, not so much, because you obviously have to be present and there for the student when they need you. Whereas with Arbonne, I can do everything from my phone and be free whenever, really. It's not, there's no obligation, when it's all, whatever effort I put in,
Kate, you are a prime example. You're a prime example of actually what Stephen and I talk about quite a lot on this show. And actually, I'm going to bring Roger in on this now, which is that during this last period, the pandemic period, etc., so many people have had this epiphany, and so many people have stepped out of work and into their own line of work at home, etc. I mean, what you've done there is you've picked up on an existing brand, etc.
Yeah.
What I now want to talk to Roger about is this is what we're seeing day in, day out, Roger, which is that people have left a business where all of that kind of corporate brand and everything else has been sort of decided, etc. And now people are starting up their own businesses, but they've got no idea about branding or brand, the two things. They've got no idea about marketing themselves, etc. How do they start that process, Roger?
Exactly. And I've run my own business for quite a number of years, and it's something I've wrestled with right from the get-go. And I've only really become aware of the real problem in recent times, I suppose. And during the pandemic, I thought I need to do something about this. And it seems to me like a very big problem for small businesses generally. My focus tends to be more about B2B businesses than B2C, but I guess it's quite flexible. The problem if you're in a small business is you can't afford to do the sort of market research that big companies can do, and neither do you have the whole group of people around you with lots of different experiences and skills and all the kind of seniority that are around you to support you. And I started my career doing marketing in Unilever, so I'm very familiar with having all that there to back you up. In small business, a lot of people are just on their own trying to figure out their marketing. And what SenseCheck was about, or is about as an idea, was how can you help people improve their messaging, their marketing, their communication without all the cost and rigmarole of what big companies do? And the aha moment for me was the simple realization that all we really need to fine tune our messaging is an external, unbiased point of view. We don't need to do lots of traditional market research. A lot of the time, we know roughly what we're trying to say. Our challenge is how do you nut it down to something simple and clear that hits the mark? So my idea was that we could actually help each other. Is the one thing we can do as fellow business owners is look at each other's marketing and say, that makes sense to me. I understand what you're saying, and I think that's a good bit of communication. Or the converse, which is I have no idea what you're talking about. It's far too long-winded and it's not clear at all. And actually, if you can get that, you're 80% of the way to communicating more effectively. So SenseCheck is an automated platform. It's a sort of virtual thing I've created. I'm not me. I've got a team of tech people. To be clear, I'm not a software programmer. So it's a really simple thing. You have your marketing idea. It could be a blog post. It could be a website homepage. It could be an email. It could be all sorts of things. You upload and it gets sent to 5 people on our panel. And when I say panel, there are lots and lots of people signed up. And actually, anyone who becomes part of SenseCheck can also go on the panel. So it's like you can give feedback as well as get feedback. It's supposed to be like small businesses helping each other. But your idea goes up, and the system picks 5 people to give you a review, and they give you a review, then it automatically gives you a report that comes straight back to your inbox. So it's not like a public torture session. It's not like you put it up and people just start shouting and telling you how horrible it is. 5 people give you a thoughtful perspective and you get a report back. That's all it is. So it's like, how do you get that arm's length external point of view cheaply, quickly, easily? And that's what the idea is. And we've just launched it. So it's kind of a brand new thing in the world. I don't think there's anything like it. I mean, I haven't found anything like it. I mean, I guess you can stick things on Facebook or LinkedIn and say, hey, folks, what do you think? But that's a bit awkward and a bit embarrassing. You're never quite sure who is talking to who about what or why. So anyway, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I mean, I've been having this narrative over the last week or so on LinkedIn. I mean, the problem for me with sense checking, if you like, your marketing on something like a social media platform is that it's one of two things. You're either going to get such varied opinion because some, and everybody's got an agenda. You're probably going to have your competitors in there as well. And that's an issue. Or what you've done is you've developed around you, and I don't know whether you can attest to this as well, Kate, but you've developed around you your own echo chamber, because ultimately you've surrounded yourself with people that align to what you believe in. So the trouble is you're not really getting a perspective from that might give you an idea about, but what about the people that I'm not reaching at the moment? Because all of the people that are already there and who already love you, they love you. So they may have already bought from you, or they may buy into what it is that you're doing. But it's reaching that next level of people. That's the difficult thing. And how do you do that unless you're trying to get, as you say, a varied opinion from a group of people that have no other agenda other than to give you an opinion? And that's a rare thing. Stephen, you got any thoughts on
I
that?
was just going to say, I think what you're saying there, Graham, is really relevant. What you're looking for is sort of independent input, but controlled. I think, as you say, the risk with social media is the net gets cast too wide, and agendas and personal opinions start coming in. So, that independent advice is really interesting, but in a controlled manner. That it's going to a group of people that sense checkers, I guess, vetted to a degree. Roger, there's some sort of process that people go
you
through.
can't just join randomly. You have to be approved.
Yeah. Absolutely. So I think it's really interesting. I think especially for small businesses, as you say, there isn't that sort of resource to go and do the market research that the big boys would do, but you're giving them almost a light version of that to give them that feedback in a controlled environment, which I think for small businesses, especially all those people who've set up in the pandemic who are new to running their own business, that'll prove a really useful resource to them.
We do hear people get quite shocked by the sheer frankness of the feedback. It's never rude, by the way, but I think sometimes we think when we ask people for an opinion of things and they kind of say nice things to us, it's what they really think. But let's face it, who's really kind of frank and open and direct people to their face? We all want to stay friends, don't we? So we might say, look, I think it's pretty much okay. I might tweak that blue. Maybe it's a bit the wrong shade of blue. And we're kind of like, yeah, it's great. And your mum says it's lovely and your best mate says it's lovely. And what does that... On sense check, people tell you what they really think because that's why they're there, and it's kind of anonymized as well, although they are real people and they have been checked. I think people are actually a bit confronted when somebody says, actually, I have no idea what your business is about from what you've just shown me. It's like, and it's a bit uncomfortable. On the other hand, when you think about it, what kind of feedback do you really need? Do you really want to be kind of flanneled as a small businessman spending your own money? You want the truth.
Yeah. What about you, Kate? How have you found marketing?
I think that's brilliant that they get real constructive feedback, because it's not obviously I kind of market myself because I've become the brand, and I kind of share my story, and I want to find out if anyone has a problem, and then if there's anything that I have that I can help. That's how I look at it, and it's coming from, I think that's because obviously I'm a teacher, so even when I had students in front of me and they were making thousands of mistakes, I can't help it. I show it in my face. I used to train teachers and they wouldn't correct students. And I said, no, that's not the point of view. The point of view, the why that student is there is to get the mistakes checked and, improved. Otherwise, you're just there listening. And as Roger was saying, it's all those people that going, oh, yes, it's a great idea, but it's not what they truly think or what that person really needs.
I really love that analogy with the whole teaching thing. I mean, wouldn't it be completely useless if when you were growing up at school, your teacher just told you that every bit of work that you did was fantastic?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's brilliant, Graham. Yeah. Your art looks amazing. Yeah.
I mean,
how do I improve it?
But that's the thing. That's what, and you get a lot of people who definitely in network marketing, you get a lot of people who are very like they're personal cheerleaders, but you don't actually need cheerleaders. What you need is, as Roger was saying, you need actually constructive criticism or feedback, coaches, if you will, that are actually going to help you progress. And that's how I also see, and that's what teaching's about. It's another form of coaching. You can't help somebody if you just let them do whatever they want. And so I used to always say to my students who would come to me and say, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to do this, I want to speak this, I want to do this. And I was like, okay, great. Let's do these steps before, because you can't run before you can walk. And I know that's what you want, but I'm here to give you what you need. And so sometimes they would find me a bit frank and a bit direct, but I truly believe, just like Roger was saying, like you just have to give the right feedback. Right. And what I've noticed with Arbonne is sometimes in the team, which is it's an amazing community, and I know definitely for the personal development, it's helped me broaden my horizon. So because I would have loved to have set up my own small business of teaching English, but I was too scared. So that's why I've gone for Arbonne, because at least I have that huge community of support behind me. But I do hope to start my own. I have now more confidence to start my own, but I hope that I will have people that will actually give really constructive feedback, which is the case in Arbonne, but because we're all helping each other and it's all positive, and we want to provide positive feedback, you rarely get, unless it's somebody from completely outside, one of my friends going, no, I don't think, I don't get what you're saying there. Occasionally, that.
I think the diversity is really important, because I do think the danger in any kind of collective is you all start to think the same way. I know Simon Sinek talks a lot about this. It's one of his books is all about diversity of opinions and thinking. And actually, even if 4 people tell you it's great, but one person says, hang on a minute, here's a problem, you suddenly go, wow, I hadn't even thought about it that way. And so actually the constant receiving constantly different points of view, even if you disagree with them, I always say to people, you may not agree with the feedback you get, fine, but sit and think about it, because there may be something in there.
Yeah, actually, Stephen and I were talking about this last week, weren't we? We had a conversation. We can't talk about the brands involved, but but ultimately, we were saying that there are people that market their products very differently to you, Stephen. But actually, we were talking about the fact that although your business wouldn't necessarily market in that particular way, actually, even the difference that's out there and understanding that difference is really quite useful, and it can be really useful for the general public as well, because actually, even if you can use those differences to actually generate more awareness on a certain issue, etc., and then find your way of honing in on the detail, that's useful. Yeah, it's not if everybody did exactly the same in terms of their marketing. If it was that formulaic that you could just switch onto a formula, then that would be great. I mean, it's one of the issues. I'm going to get rocks thrown at me now, but it's one of the issues that I have with some LinkedIn coaching, where people go, oh, actually, in order to make this work, what you've got to do is this. And they say, if you color this color, or you put this up in this way, or you put this as your headline, this is what's going to work. My argument to that is, but if we all did that, then
it'd be very bland.
Are we going to stand out against the crowd? You're not. Every individual business has an individuality to it. And they've actually got to market their individuality and their uniqueness into the world. And yes, there are things that can work. And there are some sort of tricks, if you like, of the trade. But there's never a formula.
No,
because if there was a formula, it'd be wrong. So therefore, we actually need to be diverse in the way that we're marketing, and we need to be creative, and we need the opinions on that.
If it becomes too prescriptive, as you say, if everyone started doing exactly the same thing, no one's going to stand out. I think it's good to get, like, almost going back to what Roger's business do. It's good to get feedback. It's good to look at what other people do and are successful with, but remaining or keeping that individuality. So making sure that, okay, we've taken on board 1 or 2 little hints and tips. However, we're gonna sort of funnel it into how we want to look. And as you say, especially with what we do, Graham, you've seen a lot of the marketing we do as an organization. We focus in on a particular character, an actor who takes part in all of our sort of promotional videos. So we've got an element of a common theme, but filtering different things in. So, we're not just trotting the same thing out. We have a theme that runs through it, but taking on board other messages and other stories and other successful approaches from other industries to pull it together into a successful campaign for us.
Now,
and
here's something
with another, you were saying about LinkedIn coaches, but I would say that's also very common in network marketing. Like, I know the first year that I was with Arbonne, because I knew nothing of network marketing at all before my friend talked to me. Like, I had no connotations, nothing. I know a lot of people do, because a lot of people try it, and they can come across, some people can be really weird, but I do wholeheartedly agree, just like we were saying, the LinkedIn coaches, that when people say, okay, this is what you do, this is the message you send out, blah, 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 you don't have your personality in there. And I think that is the danger. You need to be open, listening to the structures, the systems that work, as you say, but then bring it into your own style. That's what I have now started doing for the past year in my business, is actually bringing my own way. I love doing videos, I love dancing. And so you bring your personality to it. If you're not doing that, as you say, how can you, well, first of all, you don't stand out from the crowd, but also you're just bland, and everyone's bored of that. And so you're really not helping yourself. I remember even with teaching, So the company that I worked for, they had their own method, and you had to follow the folder. And oh my goodness, if I had to teach the lesson 16 one more time, and it was over and over again, so repetitive. So I knew them to like the back of my hand, especially being the manager. I was one training all the teachers, so I had to know every single bit of the material. But what I loved is that students would come up to me after and say, "Oh, please, can I have you again? Please, can you be my teacher?" And I was like, well, I'm kind of, I do the special classes so that teachers can see me teaching students now because I'm the manager. But I'd love to, but kind of on other things. But it made me really appreciate that, because what I always thought was that no matter what the material is in front of you, you have to bring your own energy, vibe. Like I was a teacher that was jumping up and down. I need to illustrate what I remember there was once like to fall over. I actually did fall over. It was all of those. You have to bring life into whatever you're doing. And I had teachers that would come up to me sometimes and say, "Oh, I'm so bored. If I have to teach that lesson 5 again, I can't cope with it." I was like, well, you have to shake things up. You know the material. You know what you're going to get your students to do. Now bring your own energy to it. And that's what you should do in all things in life, I think. You've got to make it your own.
Yeah, go on. It's a really tough balance, because I guess the two fundamental levers of marketing is to get impact and ownability. So it's definitely you and you stand out, but also then you have to get the message clear.
Yeah.
And sometimes those things work completely against each other. Like, I could do a video of me dancing. I'm sure I could put together a dance of some kind, and people would probably find it absolutely hilarious, and I'd probably fall over. But would that
no one knows what it's about?
anything about what I do? It's like trying to get the creative to do both jobs is tough. And that's partly why feedback matters, because is one overcoming the other? Is the messaging getting lost by the idea, or is the idea so boring no one will read the message? Right? It's the challenge.
Yeah. And in terms of where larger companies, because you've obviously dealt with larger companies as well in terms of their marketing, there's a lot more personality in large brand marketing now as well. Yeah,
I think yes. And in B2B, I think the whole world of emotion has been recently rediscovered. Like, we have to treat B2B marketing as B2C, because we are selling to people, and that's still got a long way to go, because B2B marketing is still fundamentally mostly very dull. And I think that big companies are beginning to work that out. But if you come from consumer goods, I mean, you hire expensive ad agencies, and they make your ads exciting for you. As a marketing person, it's almost not your job. You delegate that to these crazy creative people in an agency. But of course, when you're in your own business, what agency? Hang on a minute, it's just me. So now I suddenly have to do all the creative thinking. I have to put it all together for myself. It's really tough. It was one of the things that confronted me, because I thought I knew about marketing when I started my own business 10 years ago. I only discovered how little I knew when I actually had to do it in real life, spending my own money. And that is a hell of a different thing than spending somebody else's. That's for sure.
I think there's been such great advice from both of you this morning. I think that's really helpful. And anyone that's watching this back throughout the day, if you've got any questions, do throw them into the comments so that Roger and Kate can pick them up later on as well. One of the things that I'd like to talk about while you're both still here, before we go into games and all those wonderful things, which I know you're both sitting there going, right. But one of the things I'd like to talk about is one of the things we've seen lately are mistakes from big companies, actually, within the industry of ergonomics. And it's something that's really... sometimes marketing is about a real movement and a real change in terms of culture as well, not just within a particular sector, but globally. And one of the things that we're on a mission to try and do, and I know a lot of other people are now, is to see the end of badly used photographs of people using laptops. And we've even seen businesses that sell laptop accessories using bad stock footage of people using laptops incorrectly to promote an ergonomic webinar, for example, which is dreadful. I mean, large companies can make these mistakes as well. They can get it wrong, especially if one person isn't talking to another in a business. Sometimes the right hand doesn't quite understand what the left hand is trying to achieve, really. That's where a small business can be really powerful, because they can make sure those things line up. Do you all agree?
Oh, absolutely. The company that I was working for English is a huge not going to mention it, but yeah, it's a huge English company. And
yeah, they don't like it either.
No.
And they actually sometimes would put out marketing campaigns, and you won't believe this. English company, English grammatical mistakes. I mean, what was going on? How many native speakers did they have working for the company? If they didn't pass it, I wouldn't have minded just doing a 5-minute check for them, just making sure that it was all okay. But when I remember one, it had the two prepositions at. I was like, why does that appear? Like, oh, because they crossed one out. But then it doesn't. Why? What have you done? And it was just, because I'm an English grammar nerd as well as an English teacher, it just crawl under my skin and just irritate me so much every time I saw. I mean, everywhere on the metro these adverts, and you think, what have you done?
That's a great example. Great example. What about you, Roger? Any examples?
Oh,
any thoughts on this?
Thinking back to my experience in big companies. I mean, the big advantage a big company has is being big, and it's got momentum, right? It's what small businesses don't have. And the thing will sail along like a super tanker, and all you're really trying to do is nudge it to the left or to the right to get it to change direction a bit. But it has that momentum that kind of gives everybody a bit of freedom to kind of relax and not worry too much about all the detail that's going on, because you have that presence. I think the thing about a small business is that everything has to be right, because you've got nothing on your side. Everything's against you as a small business, because all the big companies, the incumbents, are there with the business. You've got to get it off them, which is why the task of an entrepreneur is so exciting. You are fighting every day for the scraps, but one day if you win, you can become a big company. And then you would still said, I dream of having the problems big companies have, all those problems of lots of meetings and lots of hierarchies and lots of kind of reporting to each other. I dream of that, because that's success, right? That's when you've finally got a big business. But meantime, you are just fighting on the front line every second of every day, and it's exciting and it's thrilling. But of course, that you don't survive unless you do, because you've got no momentum.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Any final comments on that, Stephen, before we go into the...
I think it's really interesting. I think, Graham, the thing we're referring to is what we've been banging on for months and months, and it's great to see a lot of traction happening. Other people in our sector calling out other organisations. I think it was our friends over at Posturite, wasn't it? I think who have written a couple of great pieces, and there's another piece gone out this morning from Kate over there, where calling out. I mean, the BBC, I think, one of the people, there was a lot of other people, showing people sitting at home with a laptop on their knee and things like that. And, for us, it's just so wrong. It's sending out the wrong message. It's encouraging bad behavior, poor posture, increased problems. And I think the difficulty is, and this is why we've been calling it out and other people are calling it out now, is by showing that to people, you're almost approving it and saying, this is okay when you're at home. It's okay to sit on the sofa. It's okay to work in bed. And someone will think, well, if the BBC are showing it, or whoever it would be, it must be okay. And I think it's great to see that sort of the worms turning a little bit on it, that actually people are now calling out, what we're referring to is bad photography, bad imagery, bad messaging. And it's being called out now, and hopefully we'll see this start to change and that will disappear. But as you say, people in our industry using and promoting those things, it's just like, hang on a second, that goes against everything you're talking about. You're promoting and showing bad behavior, bad posture. So
I saw another one this morning from I won't mention them at this juncture, but a large national newspaper who had a woman lying on the floor using a laptop above her head like this. And it's just like, is that even possible? But the point is, it's it was part and parcel of a piece on healthy working. It's just, where are these people putting these bits of information together in their brains? It's really quite scary. Right, we're going to play a game now.
Just before the game, can I ask, have you been to Barcelona and sat on Gaudi's chairs? Because this when you're talking about posture and ergonomics, that's what I remember. So I remember just being so comfortable on his incredible chairs, and like the museum, and he built everything to fit your posture perfectly, and he was just... Have you ever been?
No, but I think we will be taking WoW Ergonomics on the road, Graham, and heading over to Barcelona. I think when there's no COVID restrictions, we're there.
That sounds fine. If you want to come as well, Kate and Roger,
I love those chairs.
We'll organise it as a little trip.
I think I'm going to a small business conference of expo or some kind in May in Barcelona. So look that up.
Definitely. Gaudi's museum. It's amazing. Well, he's everywhere in Barcelona. He is the king of Barcelona. Really.
Yeah.
That sounds absolutely brilliant. Right. So the way that this is played is on a smartphone. If you are watching this live at home, you can play along with your smartphone. For both of our guests, Roger and Kate, there's an opportunity here. If you beat Stephen in the quiz and come first, you can win some prizes. That's a good thing, isn't it? So there's prizes up for grabs.
I warn you now. So.
Oh, okay.
It's a doubler, because what happens is you win the prizes and potentially Stephen's out of work.
Yeah.
All right.
Neck on the line.
Although having said that, I've made it fairer to Stephen in the last week because actually I've made more of the questions general knowledge as opposed to about backer products from the website. So this week's product is a laptop riser, okay, or a laptop holder. So that we will see the first question of that shortly, and I'm just going to share my screen so that everybody can all play along.
Mobile phones at the ready.
Yeah, if everyone gets everything ready, that would be great. And here we go. And I'm going to present this full screen. So should be able to see that now. On the left-hand side there, you can join on your phone. If you go in your browser to vvox.app, you don't have to put anything else, just vvox.app. You should then be asked for the ID, which I'll read out, and your name. I won't read out your name because I don't know it. The ID is 140-129-357. That number again? 140-129-357. Remember, calls could be charged at national rates. So, okay. So has everybody got that in their phone? All right. Just nod when you're at the point.
So it said waiting for the host to start.
Okay, so you're all ready. You're both ready, waiting for the host to start. Brilliant. That's exactly where we need it to be. So I'm going to start the session. Okay, you submit your questions and you can like those by others as well using the interface if you want to. So the first question today is, where on here do you put the laptop? Now you're able to draw on the screen and put your answer onto the screen using the clever technology. And any minute now, we will see people's dots appear on the screen. Where on this product do you put the laptop? Let's have a look at the results. Okay, we've got 2 dots so far. Ah, there we go.
Oh.
Yes. I'm going to close the poll and I will actually show the answer. The answer is... Oh, no, hang on a minute. I've done that wrong. Well, the actual answer is you put it in the top behind the bit where behind the front, because that's actually a document holder part.
Sneaky.
So if you're using paper or you use your tablet quite a bit, you drop that in the front, so it creates that sort of inline working. So the laptop fits in behind, and it's got an integrated document holder or document slope, whatever you would call it.
Yeah, you are. So the correct answer was probably from Stephen, was it?
I'd like to think so, yes.
You'd like to think so.
It's educational, this quiz. That's good.
Yeah, there you go. It is, absolutely. Using a notebook stand in combination with an external keyboard and mouse increases productivity by what percentage?
I know the answer to this. This is obvious.
We've got 3 answers, all at 17%. The correct answer is 17%. Well done.
Well done, everyone.
Did everyone follow you there, Stephen?
It looks suspiciously accurate. You see that?
I wasn't
it
first.
does. I thought that. That's why I put 27% in there as well, because I just. Who was first? Who was the? Was that you, Roger? Were you first out of the blocks?
Yeah,
there?
as a market researcher, I'm always looking for strange numbers in bar charts.
Yeah.
Good man. Well, there you go. We'll talk about strange numbers. Here we go. This ultra mobile laptop stand is only how many grams and how many millimeters thick?
Oh yeah, I know this. Can you ask us some hard ones? Because this is a bit easy this stage.
This is too easy, is it? Okay. All right. We've got 3 answers. The correct answer is 390 grams and 7 millimeters. Did you get that right then, Roger?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, right. Okay. There we go. Okay. Well, then
I was always taught, I always remember from school, if you weren't sure
Yeah.
of the answer in a multiple choice question, always answer B.
Always answer B.
Well, normally two of them are obviously wrong. That's the way these things work, and 2 of them are contenders.
Well, I went with B because obviously the other one is 390 and 8, and the first one is 380 and 7. And I was like, well, B is a mixture of the two, so it must be that.
Well, I was waiting for someone to go as heavy as a ton of bricks. But anyway, let's see. At the moment, we've got 2 winners, 2 people in the lead. Let's have a look. And that's Kate and Stephen. Roger, actually.
I'm going third, so that's normally better than I normally score.
No, there we go. Right. Well, let's see how we continue as we carry on.
It says great effort, by the way. It's encouraging me.
It is encouraging you, which is great, isn't it?
Graham, a quick question for you, Graham.
Yes.
As I've got all 3 questions right, how have I only scored 2?
The first one.
I'd
actually put it in at the top.
Okay.
Yeah. There you go.
Just checking.
My career is on the. That's where you actually put it in. The questions are going to get harder from now on in. Okay. All right. So the next one is: what is the capital city of Belarus? Someone's 3 people straight in there with Minx. There we go. Do you know your geography or not?
I think we do.
The correct answer is Minx. Well done, everybody.
Well done,
okay.
Topical, isn't it? Let's face it.
It is really. So, and on that same basis, what vegetable forms the base of traditional moussaka? Yeah, all 3 of you again. No, that's aubergine. Yes, of course. I think you can make it with parsnip, but that's not the tradition.
Have you mentioned parsnip, Graham, so you can talk about your world famous grated parsnip that goes with a Sunday dinner?
I'll give you that as a recipe afterwards in my cooking section. Yeah. What is the national animal of Scotland? Now this might cause
that's interesting, isn't it?
A bit of debate.
I don't know. Oh, pure guess. Oh.
Okay. Well, the actual correct answer is, believe it or not, a unicorn.
Really?
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
The national animal of Scotland is actually a unicorn. Bear and white lion, they're actually, and swan, they're my favourite pubs. Oh, you see. How many chukkers are there in a polo match? Of course, Stephen, I'd expect you to know this one, being someone that likes to play polo at the weekend.
Is a chukker like a player?
Yes. It's a particular
So how many on each side?
Yes.
No idea.
Okay. So the correct answer is 6. 3 on each side. Yep. There you go. We're coming towards the end. You'll be pleased to know. What is the most sold flavour of Walker's Crisp? Now, Roger might know this one, being a market researcher. We've got another person playing.
Hang on.
Fourth person playing, yeah.
Oh.
There we go.
Gary Lineker just dialed in. I saw.
Yeah.
Did he? Yeah, he did. He said, "Oh, I know that one." Fantastic. Ready salted cheese and onion, salt and vinegar. We've got all of them apart from beef up there. Someone's got beef with that. Okay, we're going to close the poll. And the correct answer is cheese and onion. Of course it is. Well
done.
Yeah. music question for you. Future Nostalgia, containing the single Don't Start Now, is the second studio album from which famous English singer? Ellie Goulding, Banks, Rita Ora, Dua Lipa? Someone straight in there.
I'm just going to copy the other people, see what everybody else gets. Everyone will know more about this than me, so that's my bet. Just follow the crowd. Yeah. Ask the audience.
We do find a little bit of blocking goes on in this quiz, don't we?
Yeah, a little bit of strategic,
which is human
well,
psychology.
And actually, what this does, Roger, is this proves yet again that actually, if you give people a mechanism like this, that actually people copy each other. So sometimes, and I've noticed this on some of my polls in the morning, and I deliberately mess with people's heads with it as well. Is that sometimes you set the thing up to make people have an opinion. Yeah, by the mechanism, and you see people going like sheep after each other.
By the way, I've just realised that for sense check, it was really smart of me to design it that no one could see the feedback anybody else was giving. You only give your own feedback. You don't see what everybody else says until you see the report. So you're not biased by what anybody else thinks. You just had to give your point of view.
Ah, very good.
I just realised what a good idea that was.
Does everyone then get to see, say there's 5 of you, Roger, do you then get to see the other 4 people's feedback just to see if they were in line with your thinking?
At the end, you get a copy of the report you contributed to, yes. But you don't see it live, so you can't amend based on what somebody else says.
Right.
And that's really important. That's something that's called Q methodology for those that have studied that. Sound of the Underground was the first UK #1 for which group? Come on, this is the last question. This is your chance to redeem yourself or embarrass yourself forever.
I've heard of at least one of them.
Yeah. Little Mix is what I buy at the sweet shop on a Saturday morning.
Super Mix.
What sweet shop do you go to? Crikey.
Well, along with Sugar Babes.
The less said, the better, I think.
Yeah. And so I think that's it. We have got 4 people playing, but one person's just not pressing the buttons. So correct answer, yes, of course, was Girls Aloud. So let's have a look at the leaderboard. Let's see where we got to. We've got a joint leader.
I'm still third. I'm still very consistent in my performance.
I think that yeah, absolutely. So Kate, Stephen, joint leadership. I think that means Kate. We need to talk to you about your ergonomics. But
we do.
There we go. Woo!
Well done,
That's
Kate.
Brilliant. Well done. Well done.
Well done for coming last out of 3. Yeah, I appreciate that. Thanks.
No, you came third. You came third.
It's third. You were bronze.
Can I put that on LinkedIn as an achievement?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we'll send you a certificate for that basis. Just so everybody knows. Yeah, but let's just go back to the product for a minute because we like to educate our guests on that. So a laptop stand.
Yeah.
Ultimately, and this is what we were saying before, really anybody that's using a laptop for any period of time, of course, if you're just going to get your laptop out for 10 minutes and work on it quickly, doesn't really matter. But for prolonged periods of time, a laptop should either be docked into a separate monitor that's at the right height with a docking station, or should be in a laptop stand that actually raises it to a sensible level.
So your fundamental point is you look down all the time. You it's not good for your back. You're curving your back. Is that the fundamental point?
Your head weighs roughly, Graham, the weight of a bowling ball.
Your head weighs about the same as a bag of sugar. All right, times 5. Right.
So a bowling ball.
So
very big bag of sugar.
Nick Arnold told me it was a bowling ball.
Yeah, no, it is. Yeah, but it depends on the size of the bowling ball. Let's go for a bag of sugar times 5. So a normal kilo bag of sugar times 5. 5 point something kilos is roughly the average head weight. And if you think about the impact that has on your spine, especially your cervical spine, your neck, it means that for every degree forward, that is then exaggerated by the weight. So by the time you get from an upright posture where your neck is at 0, okay, with that weight on top of it, to looking at 60 degrees down there, you're actually got a sort of amplified weight of about 260 kilo on your neck. All right. So it does two things. One is the head forward like that, and the weight on the neck puts pressure on the neck. In order to compensate from the pressure on the neck, you're either going to do one of two things. You're either going to slouch right forward on the desk and put your shoulders forward in order to try and take the pressure off of your neck, or you're going to actually slouch your pelvis and you'll slouch back this way and try and bring your head back that way. So you're either going to ruin your lower back or your neck. Ultimately,
because in France, you actually have to go. Anybody who's working for a company has to have a medical appointment to see the doctor. And one of the things they ask you is your position. If you're in front of the computer, what is your position? Yep. And they give you a leaflet and everything. They're very clear on this in France about that. You have to be the right height. You have to get your legs right, and that your back is correct. But even then, half the time I was like that. As you said, I was doing exactly, because you just get lazy, don't you? But very interesting. I didn't know that about the weight.
Over here, companies are meant to carry out DSE assessments with their staff. So that's display screen equipment assessments, and they're meant to do an audit on a regular basis with their staff to make sure that they're working safely and healthily. The amount of companies that actually do it is minute. And even when they do it, quite often what they do is they do it as a kind of, and this goes straight back to Roger again, they do it as a tick box exercise. Now, you know what happens when you do a tick box exercise with someone in a business is, especially if they've just joined the business or whatever, they go, I'm fine. I'm fine. Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, I'm fine. Okay. Because they don't want to actually make a fuss, rock the boat, etc. So then what happens is, along the line, 2 or 3 years along the line of them ticking yes, because I don't want to rock the boat. I don't want to, this is a very simple thing. I can just respond to this. They start to get problems. And then they start to go, they start to have days off, or then they need to go and see the doctor or whatever. And then they start to go, I really need one of those assessments. By then it's kind of too late, etc. And
that's the big problem, is that by the time you've got a problem that you know about, it's probably too late, right? That's the problem with these things.
Yeah, it's like too late. Like the moment you start to feel thirsty is actually because you're dehydrated, and you should have been drinking water before. It's always the problem.
Yeah. So really, this whole conversation's gone back full circle, which is that, with most things in life, you really do need some outside advice. And that's why workplace assessors existed, to come in and do an audit, looking at an individual person, seeing what the issues were and addressing all of the issues. So not only necessarily just their working environment, but, I used to do holistic assessments as well. So looking at, is there any impact on them, from a mental health point of view, or do they have specific learning difficulties that may impact on the way that they work, etc. You can't see people in a very straightforward clinical tick box exercise type thing. And actually, if you give people tick boxes or even semantic differential scales, you all know what I mean by that. 0 at one end, 10 at the other, and the numbers running up, and say, how do you feel about this? Whatever. Most people lie.
7. Yeah, people will just generally go to 7. It's that sort of number that looks good, but it's not great.
Not quite there, but they look around at what they think other people are going to expect of them, and give that. And that's why always in a process where there is another viewpoint coming in to give a professional view of that situation, that helps.
Sense check. That's what you need. That's why you need it.
I think you need a sense check in pretty much everything. Business.
That's my long-term business plan. But I'm starting with marketing because it seems to be that's the best place to start, because that's the one thing everyone can give you an opinion on, right? We can all say that's how your marketing looks to me. That's something we can all do.
Yeah, but would you agree, Steve? I mean, that's really what we're trying to do. Sense checking, basically, on the ergonomic side of things, really.
Absolutely. And I think the interesting thing, Graham, that was just before Christmas, there was the update from the health and safety executive, because a lot of what's gone on has been sort of paused because of the pandemic. You know, a lot of the increased use of laptops at home and on kitchen tables, etc., was because of the pandemic. And in all the different countries, people had the general sort of instruction to work from home. What the health and safety executive in the UK have done is they've sort of now taken a pause and qualified that actually the pandemic is no longer a sort of mitigating factor. You need to be doing those assessments for, and they very distinctly say, home workers or hybrid workers. So actually, you may have worked from home previously and you just got on with it, but actually now there is a responsibility on your employer to follow the guidance, to do that assessment, be it an outside agency, like Graham said, or the potential you can then look at doing some sort of self-assessment. And it should all come back to the same thing as you mentioned at the start, Graham. You know, a laptop, they say a continuous period, don't they? Which we generally would say is about an hour. If you're tapping away for 5 or 10 minutes, carry on. If you're working for that continuous period, that's when you need that assessment. And that's when things like the laptop stand that we spoke about become really important, because ultimately a laptop is a mechanism to carry a keyboard and a screen. It's not a workstation. It needs to be complemented with 2 or 3 different accessories to make it that healthy and productive workstation. And that's what the assessment will then produce. The output will be, do you need that? Yes, you do. This is what you need to go and get. And ultimately, you then can sort of negate the risk of those issues around the bowling ball, etc., and the problems with the shoulder and neck can be negated just by having a very, very simple assessment and making 1 or 2 very minor and relatively inexpensive sort of tweaks to your working setup.
Can I just finish by saying today, and thanks to all of our guests, and I'll let you all say goodbye in a minute, but there's another theme that's run through this conversation today, which is that actually when lockdown first happened, when we went into that period of the first period of the pandemic, etc., the bar in some ways as well dropped from all businesses. You know, we accepted the fact, we accepted things that we wouldn't normally have accepted across businesses as well, because people were just having to make do. We saw it in people's marketing, I think, in terms of, you know, people were just beginning to get stuff out there because they were just beginning businesses and learning how to do it. Kate, you said that, you know, at first you did things the way everybody was doing them, but, you know, gradually over time you learned that you needed to put more of your own personal touch into that. Roger, you know, you talked about that from perspective of, you know, yeah, it's fine when you first start up, you know, you do what you have to do, but you get to a point where in order for you to grow the business, you've really got to start competing a little bit more with the big boys there. So you've got to get more professional in what you're doing. And we saw it as well on the ergonomic side of things as well, that to begin with, even ergonomists were giving people advice about, well, you could stand and work on using a, you know, a kitchen work surface, which ironing is higher board, or an ironing board or whatever. But long term, you have to do things properly. So long term, you know, it's about, in all of these areas, it's actually about doing it the right way. And as we slowly but surely get back to more of a norm, I don't know whether we'll ever get completely back to norm, but as we get as things are starting to move again, etc., I think, you know, it becomes more and more important that that the way that we do things becomes more professional again. Would everybody agree?
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah. Cool.
Definitely.
Well, thanks all for joining us today. I hope you've enjoyed another edition of Wow Ergonomics. Thanks to everyone that watches this throughout the day on any of the different platforms. Thanks to all of my guests today. Kate, down the bottom there, give us a little wave. Roger, thank you for joining us. Stephen, pleasure as always, sir.
As always.
We'll see you again next week. Do we know what time we're on next week?
Tuesday at 12. Tuesday at 12.
There you are. Set your clocks for Tuesday at 12 next week. Until then, goodbye. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.